Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to go over another biochemistry section passage. All right, so the passage reads, reproductive physiology in rodents is adversely affected by both pineal gland secretions and high environmental temperatures. All right, so two components that are affecting the rodents' reproductive physiology in a negative way, right? The following experiment was designed to test for possible interactions between these two variables, okay? So these two variables, one is the pineal gland secretion, another is the high environmental temperature, okay? All right, two groups of male golden hamsters of approximately equal ages and weights were chosen. The pineal glands were removed from one group of hamster, pinealectomy or PX. The other group was subjected to an operation identical to PX, except that the pineal gland was not removed, sham, okay? So now I know that there are two groups, one group without the pineal glands, another group that they keep the pineal glands, not moved, sham group, right? That makes sense because pineal group secretion can affect the reproductive physiology in rodents. So in order to know that, we need to take out the pineal gland of one group and then compare the data with the group that kept their pineal glands, right? Okay. After a recovery period of 1 week at room temperature, half of each group was placed at 35 degrees hot, while the other half remained at room temperature 20 degrees Celsius normal. Okay, so actually the four things that I highlighted here in the second paragraph align with the two variables that's mentioned in the first paragraph, right? So the first paragraph tells us pineal gland secretion can affect something, XYZ, reproductive physiology, right? Then the experiment design is to either keep the pineal gland as the sham group or take out the pineal gland as the PX group, right? And then also high environmental temperature can also affect the reproductive physiology in rodents, so that half of each group was placed at 35 degree, the hot environmental temperature, but the other half of each group of PX and sham group are kept in the 20 degree normal temperature, okay? So I can tell that these are really the independent variables of my experiment, right? By taking control of either you have a pineal gland or not, either in room temperature, normal temperature, or hot temperature, right? Okay, the animals were kept in individual cages with water and food pellets provided continuously. After 30 days, the animals were killed and weighed. Okay, so the animals were weighed. Okay, their body weight was weighed. And then also pituitary glands, adrenal glands, liver, testes, and seminal vesicles were removed and weighed as well. Okay, so all these other organs were weighed as well. Okay. Information on the role of the pineal gland in thermal regulations was also determined by measuring brown adipose tissue bed weight, okay? So this brown adipose tissue bed weight is also measured, is also another dependent variable of my experiment, right? Other dependent variables are the weights of the animal's body and then the other organs like pituitary glands, adrenal glands, liver, testes, and seminal vesicles, right? Okay, but the brown adipose tissue weight is not really, we're not really measuring that for see if it has effect in reproductive physiology or not. Instead, the passage says, information on the role of pineal gland in thermal regulation was determined by measuring brown adipose tissue BAT weight, right? BAT is the primary site of non-shivering thermogenesis heat production in rodents, right? If you don't know what does thermal regulation mean, then you will know, okay, it means heat production, okay? And then you might want to have some background knowledge about BAT. I think this is one of MCAT content that listed on AAMC website, right? So the brown adipose tissue, we know that infants have a lot of these, right? And then adults do also have these. And then the function of this type of tissue is really for extra heat production, production, okay, for thermogenesis. So you can make the assumption more BAT, more heat production, more thermogenesis, less BAT, less thermogenesis, okay? All right, let's keep reading. averaged results describing the interaction of temperature and pineal gland activity on body and organ weights are shown in table 1, okay? So let's look at table 1. Wow, table 1 is really busy here. It's a big table, okay? There's a lot. Okay, so table 1, the legend says interaction of temperature and pineal gland activity on body and organ weights. So cool. Body and organ weights, all these variables on this column, it's a dependent variable that my experiment is testing for, right? And then the independent variable, once again, are different treatments, right? Either sham treatment, you keep the pineal gland, or you have this PX treatment that gets rid of the pineal gland, right? And then also temperature is also playing a role, right? So I have two different treatments, two different sub-treatments under two treatments, okay? So under sham treatment, we have normal temperature sham or hot temperature sham, right? Under PX treatment, we have either normal temp PX or hot PX, okay? So I can already tell my independent variables, there are 4 of them, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4, okay? Perfect. All right, so I would move on to my question. I don't want to look at every single number on my table and analyze too much if the question, never asks about, because there are a lot of dependent variables. I don't know if the question is going to ask me about the change of body weight or pituitary or BAT. I don't know, right? So I don't want to analyze each single one of them. But I do want to look at this star sign and then also this cross sign, okay? See, what does these tell me, okay? So the star sign says star means significantly different from normal temperature with the same treatment, okay? For example, this is 84 gram with the star, right? So this means 84 gram is significantly smaller than normal temperature 108 grams with same treatment. The same treatment is what? Is pinealectomy, right? The PX treatment. You cannot say that 84 is significantly smaller than 119, right? Because this belongs to the sham treatment. It's a different treatment, but star really indicates the comparison within the same treatment, okay? All right, so that's about this. And then the cross one, it says the cross one is significantly different from the sham treatment at same temperature, okay? So if I see a cross one like 2.3, I can't say that, 2.3 is significantly larger than 2.2. I can't say that because this cross sign meaning that it's significantly different from the sham treatment at the same temperature, which is this, right? This is hot. 2.3 is the hot temperature treatment of a PX treatment. It's different, significantly different from the sham temperature at same temperature, which is also a hot temperature, right? So I can say 2.3 is significantly smaller than 1.9, but I can't say that, it's significantly smaller than 2.2 or 1.8, right? Okay, I hope that's clear. So the reason that we want to emphasize the significance is that you have to be significant to say, okay, this experimental result does indicate whatever effect that it indicates, okay? All right, so that's about it. We're going to clean this up a little bit because we're going to use the table later when we do the problems, okay? Okay, I think we are good to move on to the questions, okay? So let's do the first one. First one says, which two of the following procedures served as controls in this experiment, okay? So you do need to have some back knowledge about what is control. What is a control in an experiment, right? So in my head, I always think control is basically some baseline data, okay? What do I mean that? I give you an example. So let's say if I want to do an experiment, see if having an MCAT tutor is going to bump up your MCAT score, okay? So that I have two groups. One group, the students don't have MCAT tutor. And then the other group, they are students, they all have MCAT tutors, okay? And then when their MCAT score is available, then I compare those experimental data, right? The score of the students with tutors or without tutors, right? So in my example, the baseline data is the students without MCAT tutors, right? That's my baseline data. And then my experiment data, those students that they they have tutor and then they took MCAT and then that's their score, and I compare that with the other set of data to see, if having MCAT tutor does bump up MCAT score or not, right? So that's my baseline data in my example. But in our passage, the two variables, as the first paragraph tells you, are the pineal gland secretion at high environmental temperature, right? And then also from the table, you can tell that it also clearly tells you the independent variables being either sham or no or px, either normal temperature or hot temperature, right? So really, you can tell that two variables. One is pineal gland or temp, right? Temperature. So intuitively, you can tell the baseline data is the normal rodents that with pineal glands, right? And with pineal glands is what treatment? Sham treatment, right? And then also temperature, of course, the normal temperature, 20 degrees Celsius, intuitively the baseline, right? And then we put them in a non-normal condition at 35 degrees Celsius, which is the hot temperature. Then we get that set of data compared to the data that under, this normal temperature treatment, okay? So in this case, the baseline data is the normal temperature, okay? So now I'm gonna look at the choices. Okay, 1 says sham operation. Yeah, I like that. And 2 says pinealectomy, PX. Okay, I mean this is not the baseline data, right? This is what I want to test. I want to know if PX, if getting rid of the pineal gland would do something different to the rodents, right? Okay, and then C, I like it, normal 20-degree exposure. Okay, so I think it's 1 and 3, and then I'll choose B with confidence. Okay, all right, let's move on to number 2. According to the passage, the pineal gland has what effect on thermogenesis in wintering natural populations of golden hamsters? Okay, so this question is asking about pineal gland's effect on thermogenesis. Okay, not how temperature is affecting thermogenesis. Okay, but temperature is an effect that can affect thermogenesis. Maybe, right? I don't know. I haven't checked the data in my table yet. But I just want to keep this straight, that this question is about how pineal gland is affecting thermogenesis. And thermogenesis equals to what? Equals to BAT, right? As we highlighted here. Okay, all right. So basically it's asking, according to the passage, the pineal gland has what effect on the BAT mass, right? Because that's what I measured, okay? And BAT mass equals to thermogenesis level. More BAT mass, more thermogenesis level, right? Okay, so there are actually 2 ways to approach this problem. Okay, let's go through the first method that I didn't even need to look at the table. But the second way you can approach this is after you read the question, you go to the table and then you get your ideal answer and then you check the A, B, C, D, see whichever one is your ideal answer according to your observation in the table, right? But let's go through another method that without looking at the table, I'm going to look at answer choices, okay? So A says, okay, pineal gland increased thermogenesis because BAT mass was greater in normal PX than in hot PX hamsters. Okay, I don't like that. Why? Because the 2 conditions answer choice A give me, PX treatment, the 2 treatments both under PX condition. Then how am I gonna tell if pineal gland does affect thermogenesis or not, right? You're basically comparing in this choice A, what this BAT mass was greater in normal PX than in hot PX hamster is telling me that how the temperature has an effect on BAT mass in rodents, right? But really, I need to see the pineal gland's effect on thermogenesis. So I really need one group to be sham, right? To have no pineal gland. Then I can say pineal gland's effect, right? Okay, so right off the bat, I can cross out A, okay? And then D is the same thing. D says normal PX and a hot PX, right? Okay, I mean, they're both under PX conditions. How am I going to know? They both don't have the pineal gland. So how am I going to know the pineal gland's effect on thermogenesis, right? So I cross out A and B, okay? Then I'm going to read B and C, okay? B says decreased thermogenesis because bad mass was greater in hot sham than in hot PX. Okay, now it's great that it's comparing two groups between sham versus PX, okay? But it says bad mass was greater. So if bad mass was greater in hot sham, that means hot sham has what? Hot sham has a greater thermogenesis, right? Okay, so hot sham has great thermogenesis. Then sham is the condition that I do keep my pineal gland, right? So which means having pineal gland would increase the thermogenesis. You get the logic, right? But here it says decrease thermogenesis. So really the answer choice B in and of itself, it's contrary, right? The first part of answer choice B is contrary to the second part of answer choice B. So this is not logic in and of itself, okay? So which gives me C is the best answer, but we can still read it, right? C says no effect because BAT mass was equivalent in normal sham and normal PX, okay? So yeah, I like that it's comparing between sham versus PX, right? So that I can know the effect of pineal gland because sham is, once again, with the pineal gland and PX is without the pineal gland, okay? And then they are under same temperature, okay? If it was like a normal and then hot here, then this relationship doesn't establish. But because it says, okay, bad mass was equivalent, was also almost similar in normal sham and normal PX, so no effect. So, I mean, without looking at the table, I think this is a logical. I mean, the answer choice itself is logical, right? So I chose C, right? But we can also, let's just cross it all, let's just clear it up and then see if we don't want to just read such long, answer choices. We want to jump to the table. We can also do that, okay? Then let's do that. Okay, so let's read the question. According to the passage, the pineal gland has what effect? Okay, once again, I need to know relation. Pineal gland's effect on thermogenesis. And then thermogenesis equals to bad mass, right? Okay, so I am going to go to my table and look how having pineal gland versus not having pineal gland is going to affect my bad mass, okay? So here's my table eventually. Okay, so here, BAT, okay? BAT mass is here, okay? I have four numbers, right? Okay, so I'm comparing sham versus PX, okay? But I can't just compare normal sham with hot PX, right? I have to compare normal sham with normal PX. And then also hot sham with hot PX. Then I know, because I have to delete the temperature component that's affecting my result to know if having pineal gland or doesn't have or not having pineal gland, what does that do to my bad mass, right? Okay, so I look at I look at a blue and blue. I compare the first blue, 275 versus 287, I think they're really similar, right? Like taking out of the pineal gland or keeping the pineal gland doesn't do a big difference in terms of the bad mass, right? Okay. And then I look at my yellow, right? And their hot temperature, 177, 165. Well, I mean, there is some difference. 177 is larger than 161. But the thing is that significant? Right? Because for the experiment result to have effect, look at what I highlighted in my question statement. To have an effect, like I said, your data has to have significant difference, right? Has to have some significant comparison. Then you can say, oh, it has some effect. If you just see the number 2 is larger than 1, right? I mean, yeah, it's true. 2 is larger than 1, but if it's not significantly, 2 is not significantly larger than 1, then even if it's 10 million larger than 1, if there's no significance, then you can say it's an effect. It's an effect we tell from the experimental result, okay? So here, 177, is that significantly larger than 161? I mean, I see the star here, but what does the star tell me? Once again, I analyzed that when we read the passage, but let me just reiterate it again. Star indicates significantly different from the normal temperature with same treatment. Which means what? Which means 161 here with the star is significantly different. It's significantly smaller than this 287 because it has to do with same treatment. And then px under normal temperature 187, that's the same treatment, right? Same treatment, what same treatment? Px 161, 287 that you can compare because they're the same treatment. But you really can't compare 161. You can't say that it's significantly smaller than 177. If I have this cross sign here, then I can say 161 is significantly smaller than 177 because this cross sign indicates significant difference from sham treatment at the same temperature. So I can compare hot versus hot. I can compare 161 with 177, right? But unfortunately, I don't have this pink cross sign. So I really cannot say 161 is significantly smaller than 177. Then I can't say, okay, there's significant difference. Then I can say there's an experimental effect, okay? So from this analyze, I can say, okay, really, I mean, sham or PX, no significant effect on that mass, aka thermogenesis, okay? So I can cross out A and B if I analyze the table first, okay? And then C and D, if I read C and D, oh, C makes sense. Yes, the bad mass in normal sham is almost similar to normal PX, right? Normal sham, normal PX, right? And then D says no effect because bad mass was equivalent in normal PX and hot hot PX. I mean, you can't. That's a both normal condition. Both normal condition. Oh, sorry. I mean both PX. Sorry, both PX condition. Both PX condition doesn't tell me if a pineal gland is affecting or not. I need a group of sham condition to say that, okay, there's a difference, there's comparison, right? So D is wrong, okay? And I crossed out A and B, and then that leads me to C, okay? All right, so that's just the two ways you can approach. All right, so now let's clean up this a little bit and then do the last problem, okay? All right, the last problem says, consider an experiment in which normal golden hamsters are injected with either pineal gland extract, PGEX, or physiological saline, PSA, like a placebo, right? This like does nothing to the hamsters. Which of the following results would not validate the results of the first experiment? Okay, there's a lot in the question stem, okay? So first, let's say there are two conditions. One is the PGEX, right, versus the PSAL, okay? So PGEX is really like you give it a lot of the pineal extract. This doesn't mean like you take out like the PX condition. It's not like that. It's actually like adding more pineal gland stuff to the rodents, okay? So this is like giving it more equivalent to the sham condition, right? Because PGEX versus PSAL, it has a what? Greater pineal gland secretion, right? Whereas sham versus PX, sham also has more pineal gland secretion than PX, right? Given that PX is just totally take out the gland, right? Okay, so they're equivalent, right? Why do I have to know this? Because my table just tells me sham treatment versus PX, right? It's not saying that it's PGEX versus PSAL. So I have to infer this relationship for me to look at the table to say, okay, which one of the following choices not validate the results of the experiment, right? Okay, and then not validate means what? Means I need to pick the answer that is different than the result on table 1, okay? Let's just remind ourselves. My correct answer will be different than whatever it is on the table. Okay, it's going to be different stuff than table 1. Then I pick it. Okay, all right. So now let's look at this. Okay, so answer, we have to look at the table as well. Okay, answer choice A says pituitary weights of pack-hot hamsters are less than those of Pineal hot. Okay, so this pack and Pineal is just confusing me, so I'm just gonna replace it with sham, and then this is the PX. Okay, as I analyzed here. Okay, so now I feel better. Okay, pituitary weight. Okay, oh cool. I'm gonna go to pituitary weight of sham hamster are less than those of PX hot. I mean, it's a sham hot comparing to PX hot. Okay, so pituitary sham hot compared with PX hot. Okay, so it's 1.9 is 1.9 less than 2.3. Yes, it is, right? And then it's also significantly less than 2.3 because I have this cross sign here. Okay, so this is not different than what I see on my table. I'm not going to choose this. Okay, B, pituitary weights of sham hot hamsters are greater than those of PX normal. Okay, so sham hot of pituitary, once again, it's 1.9. Okay, it's comparing sham hot with what? With the sham normal. Okay, sham normal is this. Is it greater? Yeah, I mean a little bit. It's not significantly greater, but it's 1.9 is greater than 1.8, right? I mean, why doesn't have to be significantly greater? Because in this question, STEM is asking about the result, the experiment result, right? Whereas the last question is asking the effect, right? So to have an effect, once again, you want the results to be significant. But here, it's just asking the results. So it is just what it is. 1.9 is just larger than 1.8, okay? All right. So this also aligns with what I see on my table. It's not different than table 1, okay? So I'm going to cross this out, okay? And then C. C says, okay, C is about testy weights, okay? So I'm going to find testy weights. Where's testy? Okay, testy is here, okay? It says testy weights of sham hot are less than sham normal, okay? Sham hot, sham normal. So 0.8, is it less than 2.3? Yes. So it is what I see on my table. I can cross it out. Okay. So my choice will be D, but we're still going to read it. Okay. D says testy weights of sham hot. Sham hot is what? Sham hot is 0.8. Okay. Sham hot are greater than those of this is PX hot. Okay, so 0.8, is it greater than PX hot is, 1.4. No, that's not the case, right? That's not what I see on my table. 0.8 is not greater than 1.4, okay? So D is different from what I see on my table, and D is my right answer. I hope that's helpful.